You ever picked food out of the inside of your mouth, and it's all wet and sticky, but it feels so much better? That's how we feel about Scorn. So, to shamelessly cash in on the upcoming game hype, it's time for us to take a look at the story behind... Scorn. Roll those credits, Mr. Editor. Welcome, S35 gaming viewers, to the grossest, fleshiest, goopiest episode of the story behind that has ever graced your delicate, unprotected little ear holes and eyeballs. Seriously, we're going to be talking about a game so viscerally upsetting that it was delayed multiple times because the very people working on it couldn't stand to look at it. You think that's true?
Probably not.
But it is plausible. So cue up that cute funny cat compilation video as a palate cleanser and let's dig into this pile of vaguely human flesh that is Scorn. It's been a long, difficult road for Scorn. The Serbia-based indie game developer Ebb Software was established in 2013 and began work on what would become Scorn immediately. The team worked hard for about a year and unveiled what they had been working on in November 2014, with a trailer containing only pre-alpha footage of the project. However, even in this early stage, it was clear what the game would ultimately become. The first trailer gets kicked off with exactly the right tone. A puckering, fleshy orifice that looks like it might be the slimiest thing to ever exist in the history of things. Then there are the camera pans through interior areas that look as if they were constructed with a combination of skin, metal, and bone. Seriously, just about every surface in this game, weapons included, looks like it might have been alive in the not-too-distant past. Just looking at it gives me the heebie-jeebies. Alas, this initial version of Scorn would never see the light of day. Ebb Software launched a Kickstarter alongside this reveal trailer, but it wasn't able to build enough hype to meet its goal at the time, and the funding fell through. Perhaps the world just wasn't ready for a flesh hellscape at that time. We were all riding high on the, Hold on a sec, let me check what happened in December 2014. U.S. Barack Obama announces the resumption of normal diplomatic relations between the U.S. and Cuba. Check that out, I love cigars and sandwiches. While Obama was partying with Fidel Castro, Ebb Software pressed on, sure that their hard work would be released to gross people out all over the world. Eventually. And then, in January 2015, an angel investor descended from the heavens to give the developer private funding, allowing them to kick their sticky work into overdrive just a month later in February 2015. With their pockets lined with cash, bellies full of food purchased with that cash, and Prometheus running on a loop, Ebb Software got down to business and went radio silent once again for roughly 2 years. However, you can only eat so much sarma and paprikash before you run out of the money, and Ebb returned to Kickstarter once more at the beginning of 2017. This time, fate smiled on them, and they were able to reach their goal of 150,000 European fund bucks by September of the same year. Ebb took the money and ran, getting back to work on their first and only project. They were 4 years deep into development at this point, and had come too far to drop their slimy, half-finished project on the pile. Things started to look up when Scorn showed up once more alongside the Xbox Series X in its official announcement, with a tentative release date of the impending console's launch window, which was late 2020. This is when the sentiment surrounding the game starts to get a little sour. The game completely missed that target launch window with only a brief trailer that revealed the game had been delayed to 2021. This understandably ruffled the feathers of those faithful Kickstarter backers from 2017 who had been waiting to get their lecherous hands on the game for several years at this point. Thus, when the next release date was approaching, Scorn was once again delayed till the end of 2022. The announcement came several months after Ebb Software went all but radio silent on its social media accounts and Kickstarter page, leaving its primary supporters in the wind. To quiet the wave of vitriol that arose as a result of the second, third? I don't know, I lost count of how many delays and setbacks this game has had. Ljubomir Peklar, the creative director of Scorn, created a backer post on Kickstarter to lay out how work on the project is proceeding. Most of this update was terse, but reasonable. However, the snarky creative director just couldn't end his post without a snide comment aimed squarely at the very people who allowed his project to come this far. It began with Peklar stating that they are a small studio, and they go through such long periods of radio silence because they are focusing all of their energies into developing the game, rather than creating fancy CG trailers and the like. He name-dropped Cyberpunk 2077 as a game that should have remained in development, but was instead released in a basically broken state due to the pressure from fans and shareholders.
Night City, you can become anyone, anything.
But the real kicker was in the final lines of the note, where Peklar states, and for the end, a bit of friendly advice. If lack of communication is so bothersome, just ask for a refund and be done with it. It's just a game. You can play it when it's out if you're still interested. Oh, Peklar, you sweet summer child. We here at S35 Gaming assume that, since he is Serbian, he had little knowledge or experience with the level of self-righteous anger that is North American internet users and what they're capable of. But when the backlash came, it came hard. Anyway, scores of backers were demanding their money back, upset that one of the project leaders viewed their contribution as so inconsequential, causing Peklar to immediately backpedal the very next day to apologize for his tone. From that point, the team working on Scorn was much more open to their backers, posting regular updates throughout 2022. Everything was smooth sailing on the slimy, stomach-turning seas, to the point where there was even a positive development. Imagine that! Alongside a playable demo released to backers, an announcement was made that Scorn would finally be releasing an entire week early on October 14th, 2022. Finally, after nearly a decade of development, Scorn will finally be available. Here's a fun fact. In the time that it took Scorn to release after development began, 8 mainline and 8 spin-off Assassin's Creed games have been released. Will Scorn be as good as any of those games? Well, we hope so. And it won't be long now until we can see the hideous inside-out torture realm for ourselves. So what's your favorite game that looks like the inside of someone's asshole? Let us know in the comments, but as always, be nice. And while you're here, why don't you check out our video on Heretic? All hail the Doom clone of Doom clones. I'm Mike Golchinski, and I'll see you in the next video.